Hi, I'm Hillsboro Mayor Steve Callaway, and welcome to Community Conversations. It's a new video series that we're having, and this is our second one. And today we're looking at public safety. And so it's a video cast, which means you can either watch it on video or listen to it as a podcast. The choice is yours. And as we discuss public safety, we're so glad to have three members of our Hillsboro Police Department with us today. We have our Chief, Jim Coleman. We have a Program Specialist, Earleen Reimann, and Officer Ernesto Villaraldo. So thank you all for joining us today. And if you'd be willing to share a little bit about your background with our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate the invitation to be here with you and to have a little chat about public safety. Again, my name is Jim Coleman. I'm the Chief of Police. I've been with the city of Hillsboro for 7 years, and I've been a law enforcement officer for a little over 30 years.
Very good. Thank you for your service, and especially thank you to your service to Hillsboro.
Hi, I'm Earleen Reimann. I'm a police program specialist with Hillsboro Police, and I have been with the city for 30 years.
Wow. Thank you.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
You bet. And Officer Ernesto.
Mayor, thank you for the invitation. Ernesto Villaraldo. I'm the Community Engagement Officer. I've been fulfilling this job for 2 years. I've been an officer for 14 years. I started at Forest Grove Police Department, and I moved to Hillsboro just about close to 4 years now. And it's been enjoying it ever since I made that move.
Good. And Ernesto, you grew up in Hillsboro, didn't you?
I did. I grew up in Hillsboro, and I lived in Hillsboro for many years. But I went to middle school. That's where Earleen's husband was the school resource officer at the time. He's now the chief for the Forest Grove Police Department. And I graduated from Glencoe High School, yes.
Very nice. And you know, full disclosure, I think just about every person in Hillsboro has had Henry as their SRO at one time or another. And he was a wonderful SRO, you know, in his service to Hillsboro. And we're grateful that now Forest Grove is able to have his presence and his expertise also. You know, but thank you very much for what you all do in your department on a daily basis to, you know, truly protect us and to serve us and to keep us safe as well as visitors, because we know we have a lot of people who visit. We have a lot of people who come into Hillsboro every day to work. So thank you, you know, for all of your work. You know, we have seen, you know, have heard, you know, concerns from community members about maybe an increase in crime or increase in catalytic converter thefts, for instance. What are you seeing, you know, and hearing? You're probably hearing the same things, but what are you seeing, you know, in the field in regards to increase in crime?
Yeah, we are certainly seeing an increase across the nation, and of course, Hillsboro lives in the shadow of the nation, a large metropolitan area, and then the own uniqueness of Washington County. And you know, it's yet to be decided. The historians will decide what the chief catalysts of them are, but it certainly appears like it's the typical catalysts you would have for a rise in crime on a national level, which are economics and policy. So we see that somewhat reflected in Hillsboro, but the good news for Hillsboro is it's a unique community. We have our own set of economics and policy, and I think that really helps us mitigate where we stand as far as that increase goes.
Very good, thank you. And so what are you able to do in terms of responding to, you know, some of these trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think you mentioned, Mayor, catalytic converter thefts, and I think that's a great example of how Washington County approaches the specific incident or places where we see crime increasing. So theft, you know, we don't have what, you know, we're seeing on TV as far as like the large groups of shoplifters attacking a store or something like that, but we do see it specifically in places like catalytic converter thefts. So every independent agency also works on the next level above collaboratively with the other agencies here in Washington County, and we contributed to the investigations that led to the breaking up of a large catalytic converter theft ring in Lake Oswego. So, you know, it's centralized in one place, but we're feeling the effects over here. So we just try and use analytics, which the city has been very gracious in giving us more capacity there. We listen to what our officers are seeing. We spend a lot of time interviewing the victims of crime to try and formulate strategies and to try and understand, get a head start on what's happening out there.
Very good. And kind of making those connections because, as you mentioned, we don't live in a vacuum. Right. And, you know, with that catalytic converter theft ring that you talked about, that was clear up and down into California. And so if we only focus on it in terms of within Hillsboro city limits, we're missing the bigger picture and the opportunity to do something about it. And, you know, we're all familiar with the saying, if you see something, say something. And that's a really important reminder to us that, you know, to trust our gut. If we see something, you know, then say something. And one of the easiest ways to say something is when we have Earleen, Ernesto out and about in our community. And you are out and about, and, you know, we're talking about specifically within our Latino community in our business district, you know, how we're supporting them and serving them. And so what does a typical day look like for you as you are out and about serving in our community, specifically our Latino community?
Sure.
Well, for me, I think that every day is different for us, but we really start out by just saying hello, and that's really how I've been doing it for all these years. I just start saying hello, introduce myself, and really just get to know people. I think that part of it is being able to consistently be out there rather than just, it's not just one and done. Right. To build a relationship, you have to be out there and find commonality between each other. And with that comes the trust, and then people are able to talk to you more. So, I mean, no day is the same. Sure. It's all different, but really just saying hello. And
good. Well, and as you mentioned, it's, you know, it's ongoing. And I heard a phrase recently about relentless follow through. And, you know, and it's that follow through that establishes that trust and familiarity and that relationship.
I agree with everything Earleen said. It's that persistence and the going out there and just engaging with community and doing it in a positive way, having those positive interactions, positive community relations, and doing it in a way, as Earleen said, is consistent, creating a going out there and educating the community. It may take once, twice, maybe 3 times. We may go back several times, but it's just the repetitive and consistent work that has helped encourage and motivate community to use police services, which is kind of the goal that we're striving to.
Well, and recently, you know, at Walnut Street Park, there was a soccer tournament, and you were playing soccer, and I love the story, and I'd ask you to share a little bit more about it. But it's not so much just you all just continuing to go into businesses, but also just where people live their lives, and then it makes an authentic connection and an authentic relationship. And so tell us about your soccer game. How'd you do?
Yes, I did very well, I think. You know, it's I felt it that evening. My legs felt it. My calves felt it. But it was a lot of fun, and I think that was the most important thing. I'll share. I lived in that area. I grew up in that area. So, you know, seeing community to have those positive interactions with police in a environment where officers also have the opportunity to engage and interact with the community, it's great. You know, kind of goes both ways, where we're just having fun. We're having fun. These kids are having a great time with police officers. You know, hopefully this would be a positive interaction. Where if they ever see police again later in the future, they've already had that positive interaction with us. That we're just trying to create fun activities where we can engage with community.
Good. And El Grito and M&M Marketplace, you know, everywhere I look, you're there, making those connections and establishing those relationships with people.
Yes, I've been out a lot of years.
Yeah.
Many years.
And I think that's also, you know, recently, and Chief, I'll ask you to kind of share a little bit more, but Earleen, you received the Robert Phillips Award, you know, which is recognition of your just excellence and your effectiveness in your outreach work.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Mayor. Earleen is far too humble bring that up herself. But she received that award in 2021. It's a extremely prestigious award in this area, and to have somebody from Hillsboro recognized, it's a tremendously well deserved, and to have a member of the community nominate Earleen is really impactful. But it's, you know, I don't do everything right, but one of the things I did right was to put these two together intentionally, and really Ernesto has the attitude and bearing of a police officer who would be successful in this, but we really relied on Earleen's community connections that already existed and the strong foundation that she had built initially to really get this program launched where they're partners.
Good.
And I would like to add,
Thank you.
Same, it's such a great honor to be working along Earleen, because all those connections that she has made, you know, the time that she's been working with Hillsboro, it certainly has helped me. It has helped me to be able to fulfill what I'm, you know, the job that I'm doing. It would be a lot harder if I hadn't had Earleen, you know, working along with her, because it has certainly made my job, you know, a little bit easier.
So when community members engage with you, what do you want to hear from them? How do we initiate? You know, can I come up and say hi? You know, what, and you know, if I have concerns or you know, if I see something and I want to say something, what is the best way just to, you know, come up and approach you and engage with you?
Yeah, we definitely want to be approachable. Early, and we had talked about this, and we trying to come up with ideas of, you know, we want to make sure that we want to make the community feel comfortable. We want to feel also approachable, be approachable for the community to come and interact with us. So we kind of just started an informal campaign. When we go out to the community, we're talking to the little kids, teenagers too. If they ever saw me driving my patrol car, says police on there, if they see an officer wearing this uniform, to wave at us and see how many officers they could get to wave back.
Nice.
And that took, you know, I would say it took several months, and now that we're driving out there, I see myself driving, community is waving at. Now they're getting me to wave back at them, and it's a beautiful campaign. You know, interaction starts with, I think, with it's a smile, and being able to recognize that somebody wants to say something. They may just probably have a little hesitation to say something, but being able to recognize that and then kind of give them that smile to say, you know, I'm opening my arms, you know, as far as for you to ask any questions. And then once I make that recognition, I'll even go as far as asking how their day is. And I think we all can agree, just asking that question, it can open a conversation. And we just kind of take that approach, and it has been working for us. Community is being very responsive in a very positive way. And you know, we've been having, you know, being successful doing that. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I think part of it too is having the commonality. For Ernesto, being able to say that he grew up here and where he grew up. And for me, I like to talk about where I came from, because when people see people, right, they don't know where they came from. And so I kind of talk about where I came from, Texas, that I grew up in the Mexican culture. My mother is Mexican and had to learn English. And having that commonality and knowing where somebody came from also makes them feel more at ease, I would say. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your stories.
Thank you.
Well, Chief, one of the things I think that sets Hillsboro apart is that we, as an organization, as a city, we seek to be innovative, we seek to grow, we seek to improve our practices. And you have certainly led those efforts within our department. Since the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis in 2020, we have taken some initiatives. One is you know, our work on police advancement, and another one is the creation of the Chiefs Community Advisory Group. Could you share with us a little bit more about those things and how that's impacted the work of yourself, but also throughout the department?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been probably the better part of a 2-year process, and certain things have come into place over the course of that 2 years. I feel like we've been very collaborative with the elected officials of Hillsboro, the executive management of Hillsboro, and the community. And we we looked at it in a few areas where we needed to be out front and places where we needed to make sure that we were in alignment with. So there were a lot of legislative changes that we needed to make sure that we were prepared to adopt and, largely agree with those legislative changes. And as a matter of fact, a lot of those practices that are now mandated by the legislature were already in place at Hillsboro Police Department. We also reached out to an independent evaluator who has familiarity with the metro area and with police agencies here. They've been a very frank critic and evaluator of other agencies. We went to them and asked them to look at our agency, and they came back with a number of recommendations that we are now in. Again, some were already in place, some we're working on, and others we're evaluating. We're trying to keep the public up to date with that through our website. And as you mentioned, there's two really new and I think very impactful things that came from that. Number one is our use of force review board. Mm-hmm. So we did have a process before, but this is a different process that looks at not only was force justified in circumstances where we use it, but also what could we have done better? What could we learn? Is the officer in need of greater training? Is the agency in need of a more clear policy and practice approach? And then the second one is what you mentioned, is the Chiefs Advisory Group from the community. We have 7 members right now. We put a lot of research into what the makeup should be, what the number of members should be, how they should be selected. We have 7 wonderful people who've been working with us since January 1st. So we've met now 9 times. And really giving us good advice, I would say primarily right now in the area of, okay, you formulated a message on this topic. Mm-hmm. This is how that message needs to change to better have the community pay attention to it or understand what you're trying to say. Help us get out of some of the technical language or the overused approaches to things. So I'm very hopeful for the future of that, and it's definitely starting to have an impact on the way we particularly communicate with the community. I know over time it will even have an impact on how we do things internally.
Very good. And you did mention the website, and so there are things then that we as Hillsboro residents can follow the Twitter account of the police department. There's a Facebook page, and then also access on the website. Yeah. So those are critically important ways for us to be able to engage in a two-way communication stream. Besides coming up and saying hi. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. So, with there are, looking ahead, some exciting things, for us. A new police department, a new police station, is in the works, and obviously the cost of everything has gone up, and that it's still a priority, but it may take a little bit longer to get there. We are hiring a more diverse police department, one that looks more like our community. And so we continue to make good strides and strong strides in the right direction. I think that, just looking back to the voters' support and approval of our police, fire, and parks maintenance levy last May, which was 82%, an unheard of amount of yes votes. And it's something I hear about from other mayors. How did you do that? And it's not how did I or how did we, it's how we all did together. And I think that's a strong statement of support for our police department and fire and our parks, which are all critically important to our quality of life. And so thank you for your work. Again, we are grateful for the sacrifice that you all make, as well as the sacrifices your family make, because we know that when you put on the uniform, your family is a part of it as well. Mayor,
I wonder if I could say one thing to follow up. Thank you to the community for supporting the local option levy. Thank you for thanking us, but I really think it belongs with Earleen and Ernesto and all the other folks that are out there, because I imagine, just like everybody else, when I choose to vote on something in favor of or against, I kind of try and look back at an experience to to help me understand if I'm in support of something or not. So every day somebody sees our officers out there working hard, having positive interactions, or if they call the police department for something and one of our staff was particularly helpful. That's why I'm so excited about the vote, that I think our folks that are out there doing the work every day are the ones that really deserve the credit for having those positive interactions and helping folks in the Hillsboro community feel like they've got a partner in the police department.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks to those of you who are watching or listening to this edition of Community Conversations. And so, Chief, Earleen, Ernesto, we, again, are grateful that you joined. We look forward to future conversations, whether they be out on the street or here in the chairs. But thank you so much for helping to make Hillsboro just the high quality of life city that we have and that we experience.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
and
you,
again,
Mr.
thank you
Mayor.
for joining us.